Okay, hello everyone. So we've had quite the trying day today, but I just wanted to give you guys a brief little update and just ask for prayer. So if you guys have been following this channel like since the beginning, I think the very first video that I did, I talked about this, but we have had a lot of just abuse basically in our family, and this is something that happens with a lot of families, and a lot of families don't talk about it. But I remember being a kid a long time ago, and I used to listen to this show called Focus on the Family. And on this show, they would have different people come on and talk about just like actual problems that people had. And I always said, when I'm an adult, I'm going to be like that for people. I want to be open enough, not so open that it's ridiculous, but I want to be open enough that people know that it's okay to have problems and that everybody has struggles. And I wanted to give people tools and ways to overcome those problems. So that's why I like to share my honest, true life with you guys, because life is not neat. Life is tough, life is hard, life is messy. And there are some things that are just really difficult. So basically, we've been dealing with emotional, verbal, and financial abuse from my dad, and spiritual abuse for probably about 15 years. And it's been a really tough road to hoe. I was talking earlier with my mom today, and she's like, you know what? And she came from very beautiful, very talented family, but a lot of trauma when they were younger. And I was like, how funny that because my bone structure is a certain way, people think that there's no problems with me. It's very funny if you are beautiful and talented, people don't, they a lot of times they think there's nothing wrong, and if there is, they either don't know how to deal with it or they don't care, because it's like, well, you're beautiful, you're talented, get over it. But anyway. So with this situation with my family, it's been really hard because we've been trying to get a separation from my dad, but there's this cycle. I think this happens with a lot of people. First of all, my dad always was the gatekeeper for information, for how our family would interact with other people. So when we were younger, my mom was very social. We always had a large friend group, even when we were homeschooled, but we were not those kind of homeschoolers that were cloistered away in their home. We were always interacting with people. We were always out and about. We had many friends. And then once my mom got sick, my dad was very much a loner, kept to himself, and so because of his depression and self-isolation, he also isolated us. And when that happens, abuse can happen a lot easier, and it's harder for you to get out into the community and talk to people, especially as like a child. You don't have a car or a means to get out, and my mom also didn't have a car or means to get out. And so what happens when someone gets sick and isolated in that kind of situation, people might ask about things at first, but like with anything, when a situation goes on, we've seen this in the news, right? When a situation is prolonged, people don't know how to respond over long periods of time. They will get annoyed, or they will simply forget about you. And this is not something that I hold against people. This is just human nature. When there's a prolonged situation, it takes a certain kind of grit to be able to endure that. And so people stopped asking about my mom. People stopped, it felt like people stopped caring, as we became more isolated, and as the situation kept going on. And then my dad would basically get upset at my mom's reaction to his abuse. So when he would withhold money, and if she got frustrated, then he would, point out, oh, you're acting this way. Or if he was emotionally abusive, or spiritually abusive, like he would make my brother pray on his knees. He would force us to have family devotions, just very very forceful. And he would run around the house, and he would scream things which I'm not going to say on video, just because it's personal to my dad. He has just a lot of deep-seated issues, and he would bring them up while he was screaming. And I wish him well. I've already done my father wound video, but it was just very difficult. So I really, if things don't get talked about, they don't get solved. And I firmly believe that, even people who've been abusive, I think that anybody can come around, but you have to acknowledge the fact that not everybody will. Not everybody has the strength to heal themselves. And so at this point, we have been trying to separate for a while, and my father has made it difficult because he won't even give my mom enough money to pay to help get some help to get the separation. So you're stuck in this cycle where it's like, I don't have any money, I don't have another place to go, I don't have any friends because I have been successfully isolated. And also when you're isolated, and then you try to reach out to people, sometimes either people just, they don't want to deal with it, or it can be where the other person has said bad things about you, and not being able to defend yourself, that person paints you in a bad light. So that had happened a lot of times to my mom too, like where my dad would be telling, like he would tell stories, right? People tell stories about things. So he would tell stories to people at, to his friends, or to, mostly it was at church. I'm just going to say it. It's just, that was mostly where this kind of stuff happened. The reason why I do not go to churches anymore is because of this kind of behavior where people want to slap a little religious band-aid on things. And I firmly believe in prayer. I firmly believe in the power of God. But there's a verse that says, watch out for people that say, be warm, be filled, but they don't do anything. They don't give you a cup of water. They don't give you clothes. They don't give you shelter. Those kinds of people that are going to talk, but at the end of the day, they're just words. They're not going to do anything. And it's hard to do real things. Life is messy, and people don't want to get involved in other people's messes, and I understand that. But I want to be someone who both allows people to see my mess, because I'm not perfect. I don't come from perfect circumstances. I want to be open and honest with people, and I want to help other people as well. But anyway, so today was just really tough. Like everybody, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the days are blurring together. We were served papers that we have to be out of the rental home that we're in 30 days. And this had happened before. And a lot of times with my dad, people wouldn't understand. They're like, everybody seems schizophrenic in this family. Like something happens and then all of a sudden it calms down. And it's like, what you have to understand about people who are mentally and emotionally unstable is they can shoot up to some really high, tenuous thing and say, like, you're going to be out in 30 days. And then all of a sudden, they can kind of calm down once you talk to them or you're walking on eggshells around them, right? And so everybody around you is like, well, I thought he said you had to be kicked out in 30 days. And it's like, well, he did. But then we were able to calm him down and, get the situation calmed. And this has happened so many times, but it's gone like this. A little more. And then eventually, right, you have to, like, the baby has to come, the heartbeat stops. Something big is going to happen. So I think that's now. And basically, we have been able to get lawyer help that we need. We still have to pay for stuff, which I'm actually going to pay for. And it's very hard in the family just because, like, we don't have a lot of resources. And, like, everybody's having a hard time right now because of this virus thing. And so it's, the whole world is in this together, right? But we don't have any, like, we literally have no money right now. And my father has always held the purse strings, and that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing if he was someone who wanted to provide, but he never really wanted to really provide. He would just get irritated if we had to spend money. So just even on, like, just necessities. We never purchased anything that was extravagant, or never even really did anything that was fun. Like, we didn't go out on the weekends. We didn't, like, didn't go to the zoo. He didn't do any of that stuff. It was just, we're not going to spend money because he came from poverty, and so he was always afraid of not having money. So the fear and the love of money, it's the root of all evil. Anyway, so but I just wanted to encourage everyone, because this morning all of us girls were just like, oh my gosh, like, because I thought this was going to blow over, and I was like, oh, we can talk him off the wall. And no, he was like, your mother needs to go to a mental institution, and if she doesn't, then we're kicking you guys out in 30 days. And I was like, oh, okay. So it was just a lot of, like, everybody in the morning, like, crying and, like, saying, like, what are we going to do? And, like, for me personally, I'm going to say this to you guys because, I'm a very, I would say I am a depressed optimist. So, like, I don't expect things to go well. And when they do, I am the most joyful person on the planet. But I don't expect things to go well. I've seen a lot of hardship. I've read a lot about hardship. I expect life to be difficult. but I have hope and faith. And that always keeps me going, because I'm like, this is really hard, and I expect things to be hard. I expect things to not go well, but I believe that they can be better. And so, but like I've been dealing with a lot of pain, and just, a lot of different things. And so, I've been praying. I'm like, Lord, I wouldn't mind just going to heaven in my sleep, honestly, if that's something you want to do, and I think it's just important to acknowledge that at some point, all of us want to die. We want to be like, I just don't want to do this. And I think a lot of times right now, especially with all this virus stuff going on, there are people that are actually committing suicide. And, everybody at some point is suicidal. It's just a part of life. It's a natural part of life, and people don't like to talk about that. But like I said, I'm going to be an open book and talk about it. And so then we went to, we were all talking and everything. We were calling different people on the phone, and texting if there were any family members that would reach out and help us. And it's very hard, because there's just been so many broken relationships with family members because of things that not things that we've done, but just things that were like in the families that happened, from both sides of my family. So there's no support, and there are people that don't talk about things and don't deal with issues. So and a lot of selfishness too. I would say, like, one side of the family is really selfish, one side of the family doesn't talk about anything. So there's just no help to solve issues. You have to be unselfish and willing to talk about things. And so, I was like, I just want to be done. I don't want to do this anymore. I feel like I can't, and like, Lord, how are you going to help us? How are you going to get us through this? And, sometimes the solutions are not very fun. Like, we're probably going to go to a shelter, and I'm like, well, another adventure, but I wasn't feeling that way at first. I was just like, I don't want to do this, and that's okay. There's a lot of things that, like, happen to us in life where we're just like, it's okay to say this sucks, but I ran to the store, and I got a lot of chocolate, but, Jesus and chocolate. But I was listening to a few songs in the car, and I've always loved Rich Mullins. It's just been something, like, ever since I was really little. I loved his songs, and there's this song called You Did Not Have a Home, and I was like, it like, we've moved so much, and it always strikes me right here, but I was like, yep, and it says, you had the shoulders of a homeless man. It's talking about Jesus, and saying, like, the world, and it says, the world can't stand what it cannot own, and it can't own you because you did not have a home. And it's like, in this earth and in this life, you will have trouble, but Jesus said to take heart, because I've overcome the world. And so when I got back home, I was a little bit uplifted, because I listened to that music, and I was just praying and like, okay, Lord, help us. And then when I got home, everyone was like, okay, we have a strategy now. And so we're calling the domestic abuse hotline and all these different things. And I think sometimes you're thinking, is this really happening to me? Is this really something that I'm actually going through? And you kind of having this outer body experience, because to look at us and, to look at us, it just doesn't seem like we would be going through something like this, because we are beautiful, we are talented, and and we don't care. Like, people are always like, oh, you could be famous. I'm like, I don't care. I've never, I'm not gonna say I've never cared, but it's not about the outward appearance of things. The man looks at outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. And it's not about having stuff and being famous it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is relationships and friendships and your soul and your spirit, and that's it. That's all you have. That's all you're going to take. You will take nothing else. You won't take your reputation. You won't take your money. You won't take your fame. You won't take any of that. You're going to take your soul. You're going to take your spirit. You're going to take your journey, and that's it. And but so to see everyone in my family like be uplifted in their spirit, and we just got off the phone with my dad, who set up a 3-way call with the mental institution and everything. We were just saying, she doesn't have any desire to go. You can't make her, and we are going to protect her, and we're going to leave. And it was very liberating. We don't know where the heck we're going to go, really. We don't know what we're going to do, but at the end of the day, we trust God. We love each other. And my sister was so cute this morning. She was like, well, if we all die, I would rather die with you guys than anybody else. And I was like, same, sister, But all that to say, life is tough. And if you're going through something, like we're all going through stuff right now, I would just really encourage you to ask ask God for help and have faith, because Satan's always trying to get us. He's always whispering, he won't come through for you this time. It's impossible. I was filled with that thought. This is impossible. It's impossible. And God loves impossible. Doesn't mean that things are always going to go your way, but God loves impossible. And so it was an interesting day. It was an interesting morning, but God is good. And my main reason for putting this out is, one, to encourage you if you're going through hard times, that if you have faith, God will come through for you. It may not be in the way that you expect, and sometimes it even comes through you in death. It's not always the way that we want it to be, but He is there. And then two, I would really, really just love prayer from everybody. Just pray that we would be safe. Pray that God will continue to provide a way for us, like He always has. And it's very interesting times right now. And I don't want to say like, oh, it's the end of the world. I think it's the end of an era, and I think it's the end of a time when things are very easy. I always think about Vesuvius whenever stuff like this goes on. I was telling my mom, I was like, those people who lived way back when at the volcanic base of Vesuvius, they had a wonderful life. They had all this stuff. Things were fairly easy for them. And then all of a sudden, one day, the volcano goes off, and in an instant, it's over. And that's happened throughout history. Don't think that an end won't come for you. There are ends to many things. There are ends to lives, friendships, money sources, work, living situations. There are ends, but that doesn't mean that God isn't good. It means that we are falling. We are, like it talks about the fall in the Bible, right? Like everything was good, everything was in stasis, and then we're like, oh, let's not have God be in control of everything, and we, take the world and we say, okay, we're gonna remove God's hands from it. And so we are falling. We're in the fall. And as things are falling, things are breaking and falling apart. And then one day, it's going to hit the ground, and it's going to be totally broken, and God will restore everything. But we are falling. We are having a hard time. Things are not going to go our way. But that doesn't mean that in the midst of it, we can't have love and that God isn't good. So anyway, but prayers for us, please. I hope everyone is doing okay. And thank you for listening to this honest little rant. I am, every time I was saying to someone, I've had this thought for a long time, and it's like, I'm turning into an alley cat, one that's like, I've got like scratches on my nose and parts of my ears are missing, and like, someone picks me up and twirls me by my tail and throws me from the roof. And my goal is to continuously land on my feet and to walk away and to not be flustered by those things. And that's not easy, it's just, that's a skill that you have to generate in life, is being resilient. But yeah, so that's what's going on right now. There might not be a lot, I'm going to try, there might not be a lot of YouTube videos up for a while just because of that. Just dealing with all this stuff, and like I'm still trying to get school done and all that jazz, but we will see what happens. So I'll try to keep you guys updated, mostly just because I want you guys to be praying for us, and we will all get through this whole thing together, and we'll see where the world is headed. So anyway, have a wonderful night, guys. I really appreciate your prayers and support, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I'm praying for all of you guys who are watching this right now. Be blessed, and be uplifted in your spirits. All right, have a good one, guys.